Hello everyone and welcome to another Prob Control Presents, the weekly team build. I'm your host, the Zombie King. This episode I'm going over a team that I would have used for the ROCs if I was able to go. The ROC has a rule set of modern 300 points. So that's the rules I'm going to be following. We're going to see some figures that you probably would expect somebody to use at one of those events, some figures that you won't. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you learn something about a character you may have not even thought about, or hopefully learn something new. Alright, let's get into it. So our first character here is a figure that we can all expect to be seeing at these events. I'm pretty sure at this point everybody's running a team with him, or at least has thought about it. It's the Wolverine Super Rare from the Xavier's X-Men School, or the X-Men Xavier School, I believe that's what it's called. We're using him as 50-point dial. He has the X-Men team ability, which allows you to heal a friendly character using the same ability. On his dial, he has charge on his speed movement for the first 2 clicks, nothing on his last click. His attack ability is Blades, Claws, Fangs throughout the entire 3 clicks. He has Indomitable, or the willpower symbol. He has toughness for the first 2 clicks on his defense, and then he has his stop click on his third. His damage ability, he has nothing on the first click. Then combat, or not combat reflexes, exploit weakness on the second click, and then battle fear on the last click. He has a couple abilities going on for him. He ignores enemy terrain on movement, which is perfect for his charge. He has a trait, leadership. It was a headmaster trait. He has leadership, perplex, but only to target other friendly characters with the X-Men keyword. And then you also may include 1 student ID card on your force without adding its cost. I do have 2 cards I'm going to be using for this. Unfortunately, I only have 3 student ID cards. One of them I can't use, mostly because this team does not meet the value of the points for the character that I have for it. I'll be going over those characters at the end of the video. The probably last 2 I'm probably going to go over here for you. He does have another trait, stay away from my students. Free, make a close attack, but only to target an opposing character that damages another friendly character with the X-Men keyword with an attack since your last turn. I do have a couple other X-Men characters on this team, so that would be used a lot if in any event. His third trait is a different kind of a professor. He has sidestep. If Wolverine is closer to the opponent's starting area than his own, he can use flurry. Otherwise, he has combat reflexes, which being a close range character, you always want that combat reflexes. Having that flurry later on or moving down the map, perfect too. And then his stop click is stop regen. Which is what everybody's using him for. If you get stop, regen, you're pretty much always guaranteed to at least get 1 out of it almost in any instance. I have another character that I'm going to be using to possibly help out Wolverine in case regen does not work out as well as expected. I also have him set up with the staff from the Mighty Thor to give him Giant Reach 2, which is perfect for this Wolverine here. With this charge, he halves his value, which means he has a 5 movement. And then with the Giant Reach 2, he has roughly 7 squares that he can work with in order to do his charge and Blades Claws, making him a little bit more dangerous outside his normal dial. Alright, for our next character, we have Cyclops, again from the Xavier's X-Men School. I'm pretty sure I keep saying that wrong, but we all know the figure. 50 points. He has the X-Men team ability. He has very similar traits to what the Wolverine has, but he's more of a range character. Obviously, it's a Cyclops figure. He's going to be more of a range. He does have 8 range to begin with, too. It's kind of fits more what I normally play with. For his speed ability, he has running shot for the first 2 clicks, nothing on his last click. For his attack, he does have precision strike, energy explosion, and then precision strike again. For his defense ability, he has willpower for the first 2 clicks, and then mastermind on his last click. For damage, he has nothing for the first 2, and then range combat expert on his last click. Mostly I'm planning on, if I would have used them, to use them as an opposite to Wolverine, have Wolverine be up close, Cyclops at range. Again, very similar abilities in terms of how they're going to be used. The only downside to the Cyclops, he does not have a stop click. The only downside of this figure, at least I think so. He has improved targeting. Once per range attack, this character can draw a line of fire through 1 piece of blocking terrain. and then he immediately destroys that piece of blocking terrain, which pretty much means you can shoot through walls to target a character. It's perfect for some of those indoor maps. I'm sure a lot of people have been using the Office's ROC map. There's a couple other ones I can't really think of right now, but there's a lot of them out there. That Office one is the one I see the most. It's a nice improved targeting ability there. The only downside is that you can't see through hindering. So if the other person has stealth, you're kind of out of luck there a little bit. He has his first trait, Headmaster of the X-Men, just like Wolverine. He has leadership, and then perplex, but only to target another friendly character with the X-Men keyword. During forced construction, you can include one student ID card without adding to its cost or the cost of your team. Again, I have 2 ID cards that I'm going to be using for this. His second trait is stay away from my students. Free, make a ranged attack, but only to target an opposing character that damaged another friendly character with the X-Men keyword with an attack since your last turn. Again, very similar to Wolverine, except it's ranged instead of close. Kind of like to have some variety there. Having the same thing over and over again. The other team may be designed to kill Wolverines, so if you have a team full of Wolverines, you might be out of luck, might be a little screwed there. So I like to have the variety going on here. Again, very similar, but again, a little bit different. And his third trait is rebuild the X Institute. He has sidestep. If Cyclops is closer to an opposing starting area than his own, he can use penetrating psychic blast. Otherwise, he has energy shield deflection. Again, planning on keeping him on range. His 17 is now 19 on range attacks. Again, very, very nice overall kind of build for a 50-point character, especially if it plays well with the Wolverine. A lot of people, again, are going to be expecting that Wolverine, having that Cyclops in there, might make a little bit of a difference. Next up, we have the Al Jordan from the Elseworlds set. He's 90 points, has a 7 range. One of my favorite characters from the Elseworlds set. One of my favorite characters overall. He has a good amount of special powers going on, which I'll go over in a minute. For the first part of this, he has sidestep for the first 4 clicks with facing teleport. He has no attack abilities whatsoever, but you can make that up with a special, so that won't really matter too much. He does have the willpower on his shield symbol there, making an indom, pretty great for that kind of figure that he is. He has energy shield deflection on the first 2 clicks, then barrier on the next 2, and then ending with regen. With his pick a power ability, it's kind of nice having regen there. You can save yourself the hassle of picking or wasting that pick on regen if you need to in a pinch or in the very last moment where he's about to die. So it's nice having that. By default, you can choose something else like Invincible or Impervious or something like that. Then he has a special white damage ability for the first 3 clicks, and then that's not there. He has nothing on the last 2 clicks. For his trait, which is one of my favorite traits here, a lot of people like these kind of things. It's a pick a power kind of trait. It's Genie of the Lamp. Give Al Jordan a free action. You choose a standard power and choose one of the following: either wing symbol, dolphin symbol, giant symbol, or tiny symbol. Al Jordan can use the chosen power and has a chosen symbol until your next turn. A lot of times when I use him, I made him tiny, so get the +1 on range, plus the energy shield deflection, get another +2, give him a 21 defense, makes him very hard to hit. In most instances, I used him as one of my primary attackers, usually choosing range combat expert. In terms of supporting figures, which is probably what I'm going to be using, what I would have used in this team, I would end up choosing stuff like prop control or support, defend. In certain situations, the defend would help out. But overall, I would mostly use him as a primary attacker. He did very well for me in an Elseworlds tournament, a constructed one that we did a while back. Very, very good figure. His white damage ability that he has on the first 3 clicks is 1001 Knights of Empires. Al Jordan could use Perplex. If he used Perplex to modify the same character in the same value as during the last turn, he can modify it by +2 or -2, which would be perfect for the Wolverine or the Cyclops. That Wolverine now at this point is pretty dangerous with the giant reach with the staff. If you time it properly, you can give him another +2 to the attack to guarantee a hit, or you can give him the +2 to defense to make him harder to hit. Anything to really keep that Wolverine alive, because the Wolverine is mostly the backbone piece of most teams, the primary attacker, the one that's the most dangerous, and with very good reason. He's a very good character. with Al Jordan, you can use the support to help out Wolverine in case he's stuck in a situation where he has 2 tokens, can't use his regen. You can help him out a lot. Next up, we have a figure that a lot of people might be surprised to see here, and it's a long shot Ellie. He, I think, is a very good character. I think might be a little bit underrated for what he can do. I personally see a lot of good use for him, although stuff that may be good in theory may not be good in actual use. He may be absolutely terrible and just get crushed. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play him yet, or play with him yet, so I don't know how well he'll actually do, but he seems promising. He is 55 points, has no team ability and no range initially on the dial itself. For his speed ability, he has leap climb for the first 2 clicks and the very last click, and sidestep in the middle 2. For attack abilities, he has his white special, and then he has precision strike on the next 2, nothing on his final click. For defense, he has super senses on the first click, combat reflexes for the next 3, and then regen on the last click. Like I said, with the Wolverine, regen is pretty nice to have. The only downside is that it is not a stop click. For his damage ability, he has prob control on the first 2 and the last click, with empower on the middle. If you pair him up with Wolverine when he's in the middle of the dial, there he again makes Wolverine pretty devastating. With his trait here, which is the main reason why I picked him, something to kind of keep characters in the game. Especially with those competitive tournaments, you want people to be on the board as long as possible. His trait is just lucky, I guess. Once per game, when long shot would be KO'd, instead turn him to click 5 and give him an action token that does not deal pushing damage. So if he dies, comes back, click 5. He would have 1 token, but technically if you wanted to push it, you can push for the regen, hopefully roll something other than a 1. And hopefully he can come back later and do some more damage. Pairing him up with the Al Jordan, like you would use for Wolverine, you can choose support to help heal him up as well. So yeah, again, you have a couple different options with this team. I also chose him mostly for the prop control, because that way I don't have to use Al Jordan's pick ability to pick prop control. I could, if I needed to, I can guarantee 2 probs in a turn. That doesn't hurt. Mostly I like having options with that, or Al Jordan. Again, he's a very good figure. His white attack ability that he has on the first 2 clicks is throwing knives. Long shot has a range value of 4 instead of 0, and he has 3 targets. When he makes a range attack and hits, roll a d6. Each hit character is dealt damage equal to the result instead of normal damage. So essentially he has a Blade's Claws on range, possibly doing up to 6 damage on each character, at least a minimum of 1, I believe. Which could suck if you do 1 damage to everybody and they all have toughness or something. Especially those Wolverines, you kind of want to get those out of the game as quickly as possible, and if you only do 1 damage, he has toughness on the first 2 clicks, I believe, so you don't, it'll be kind of a waste at that point. But hopefully don't roll too bad and do some good damage to him. Again, the regen is nice to have. Again, like I said, I think he's underutilized or underappreciated in terms of figures. Like I said, he could be pretty devastating if played correctly. So next up, we have Mangog, my first of the Colossal Retaliators. Shout out to Rick for reminding me about him. I completely forgot about this character. I instead originally had Dormammu, the LE version, part of this team. He is obvious Mangog's the better version based on his traits and abilities. He's obviously a better choice. He's 30 points, Power Cosmic, has Sidestep with a movement of 5, making it a 7. He has an attack of 10, who has Super Strength, a white special on both his defense and a damage, 19 on his defense, 4 damage. His trait is pretty special, the Pull of the Odin Sword. It can only occur once per game, but if he moves across the board to the opponent's starting area, he can move up to his next click value, or his next point value, I should say, making him pretty devastating, more annoying, better for your team, worse for the opponent, because he can do a lot more damage, do a whole lot more overall. His white defensive ability is the same as all other Colossal figures that have the Colossal Retaliation. It's a stop click. He has Impervious, where I think most other characters tend to have Toughness. If he started on the 30-point dial, which he is in this instance, he can't attack smaller characters, which is again for almost all figures that are Colossal Retaliators. His Colossal Retaliation is really where I preferred having him. Again, a good thing for Rick to remind me of this is that when he attacks using Colossal Retaliation, he only targets opposing characters, so he does not target friendly characters, which is great. A lot of Colossal Retaliating characters will also damage your own characters. But for Mangok, he does not. So we'll go right into the middle of the description here. When he is placed, he make a close attack, targeting all opposing characters within 3 squares in line of fire. Hit characters are each dealt 4 damage instead of normal damage. After resolutions, make another close attack targeting each opposing character within 2 squares in line of fire. Hit characters are each dealt 3 damage instead of normal. So if you happen to go up against a swarm of those Wolverines, I know there's a lot of teams that are putting like 3 and 4 of those together. Mangok can go into that middle of that group there, do 4 damage. Everybody's now on their stop click if they weren't already on that click. Then after that, he can make another attack, doing 3 damage. Up to 7 damage on a character that normally does not have a stop click or has a longer dial. But in the case of those Wolverines, they'd be dead. Pretty straightforward, a good Wolverine killer. I know those Blackbirds are going around as well. You can do a lot of damage to those vehicles too. It'll hurt a lot of figures. Mangok will definitely hurt a lot of figures. And if you can possibly get him up to the ability where he can move up to his next click, even better. But I'm pretty sure most people are going to end up using him, or at least I would think so. A lot of people would use him on his Colossal Retaliation click and just keep him there. He's going to be hard to hit anyway. You can use Al Jordan to boost up his defense a bit more. You have a lot of options, especially with this team. Yeah, there's a lot of options to work with. So next up, we have the Giant Girl from the Fast Forces set. Again, she's going to be played on her Colossal Retaliation click, just like Mangok. She is 10 points. She has Sidestep with a 7 movement. With the Sidestep, makes it 9. No attack ability, but with an attack value of 10. A white special ability for the defense at an 18 value. And then for damage, she has 2 damage with Close Combat Expert. Again, there's going to be a lot of Giant Girls in these tournaments, so that she'll be able to attack them, do a lot of damage, although most likely you're probably going to run into more Giant Girls just like her. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are running with 2 of her, if I recall correctly. Other than that, like I said, she has 10 points, no range. Her trait is Keep It Moving Avengers. Once per turn, when a friendly character with the Avengers keyword hits an opposing character, after resolutions, you may move Giant Girl up to 2 squares. I believe if my team has a set as it is, there's no Avengers people in here. I think Wolverine just has X-Men on it. So unfortunately, she won't be able to use that ability to the full potential, actually at all. Just like Mangok, she has another trait, the Colossal Retaliation, although this is a bit different. Again, that's why a lot of people are using her. She is free. Choose an opposing character that attacked Giant Girl or damage a friendly character since your last turn. Place Giant Girl such that she can make a close attack targeting the chosen character, then do so. So she's not targeting any other character other than that one that made the attack. She may activate this in addition to any Colossal Retaliation used this turn. So Mangok goes in, does a lot of damage. Somebody's not dead yet. Maybe one of those Wolverines happened to live for some reason. Bring Giant Girl in there to, again, do a Colossal Retaliation. Assuming that Wolverine was the one that made the attack to begin with, she can hit, potentially, do some damage, help kill some of those pieces that maybe causes problems, just do a little bit of extra damage. There'll only be 2 damage, but, any little bit helps. And then her white defense ability is a colossal difference. For her, she has toughness, and that, again, is just a normal Colossal Retaliation stuff where she cannot target smaller characters normally, outside the Colossal Retaliation ability. Alright, next up is the Giant Girl from the main Avengers Infinity set. I'm using her mostly because of her trait to fill in some points, and she's also a very good character overall. She is on her last click at 10 points. With that, is click 25. She has charge with a 10 speed on there. Her attack value is 10, but she does not have any abilities there. Her defense is a 17 with combat reflexes, and her damage is a 3, no other specials going on. And again, I picked her because of her trait. That's her first trait. You say grow, I say how high, where you get to pick her point value and click number. A good, nice filler character, I'd say. Her second trait, she keeps getting bigger. Giant Girl may heal past her chosen starting line, but can't heal except by this trait, which is essentially steal energy, is what really it is. When she KOs an opposing character after resolutions, roll a d6 and heal her a number of clicks equal to half the result, which is probably why they didn't call it steal energy, because it's steal energy on a KO, not normally. So that she'd be like the last character that you want to do cross retaliation if somebody hit but didn't kill anybody. Although, unfortunately, unlike the other Giant Girl, she can't activate it with other people. That's the only downside to her. But again, if you have a chance to heal up, then might as well go for it. For 10 points, it can't really go wrong with that. Worst case scenario, she dies right away. Then her third trait is her Colossal Retaliation, who needs a smackdown. Power, if no other Colossal Retaliation has been activated this turn, choose an opposing character that attacked Giant Girl or damaged a friendly character since your last turn. Place Giant Girl such that she can make a close attack targeting the chosen character, then do so. So unlike other Colossal Retaliations, this is a power action. The trade-off is that she can target smaller characters. Because the other Colossal Retaliators, at the end of the description, it says that they can only target, or they can't target smaller characters. She can, which is pretty nice. You have an extra attacker if you need to, or an extra person to do some damage. You have an extra Colossal Retaliator. Yeah, you have some options with her. Overall, again, a nice piece for 10 points. So next, I'm going into some of the sideline figures that I have set up. There's technically only 3 that's going to be available in this set, or this team build. It's based off of what I currently own, not what I wish I would have. I like to try to keep everything realistic. So the first one is the ID cards for Wolverine and Cyclops. So the first one I'm going over is M from the X-Men Xavier School. She has 2-point dials, either 90 or 50 points. With my team, I can use either one. If I had a different team set up and had somebody over 100 points, I would have had the all-new Wolverine ID card in here instead. I would have if I would change out Al Jordan long shot for Prometheus. He was another character I was thinking of putting in because of his pick of power, just like Al Jordan did. But the points values didn't really make much sense in the terms of how it worked out. I kind of like this team build a little bit better. But anyway, so I'm going with M. Again, you get 90 points or 50 points to use her as. In this team build, either one will work out fine. If you choose the 90 points for the call-in ability, she has hypersonic with a speed of 10, although if you move past 5 squares, she gets KO'd immediately and kind of wasted for the most part. If you choose her at 50 points, though, you get charge. For attack, on her 90 points, she does not have anything to work with, but on 50 points, she would have super strength. So again, if you keep within the 5 squares, with the charge, you kind of have to, because you only have 5 squares to work with in the terms of the charge. You pick up an object. She already does 3 damage, potentially do 4 or 5, depending on what object you pick up. Good in either situation. It's pretty good. Then on 90 points, she has Invincible, or 50 points, she has Invulnerability. And then on both 90 and 50 point values, she has a white damage ability. Her trait is she has a power. She can move up to 5 squares and then make a close attack. Really, with hypersonic or charge, you don't really need that ability too much, especially with the call-in ID or call-in character. If it was on the other clicks, if you played her normally and you had one of the sidestep clicks, then you'd probably want that ability. But with how we're playing her, we don't need it. The white damage ability is Genius, Intellect, and Perfect Memory. At the beginning of the turn, if an opposing character used Outwit since your last turn, M can use Outwit until your next turn. Or at the beginning of the turn, if an opposing character used Perplex since your last turn, M can use Perplex until your next turn. I don't think this will matter too much with her being call-in, because it sounds like it's at the beginning of the turn kind of thing. Although with rulings, it possibly could, because she wasn't technically on the board. So I can see both ways on it working or not working. Hopefully it does. Again, I like things working in my favor. I'm pretty sure everybody does. But you get an Outwit or a Perplex if you can. If not, again, it's not too bad for a call-in character. You get Charge and Super Strength or a Hypersonic. So pretty good overall there for a call-in character. with the 50 points, pretty much anybody on my team can call her in. That's one of my main attackers, so Wolverine, Al Jordan, Giant Girl, or Longshot can call her in. If I choose the 90 points, though, it kind of messes things up a little bit because Al Jordan is the only one that can call her in. If he dies, I can't use her. So I would have to be very careful. Most likely I would choose a charge and super strength because otherwise the combat values are pretty much the same. Defense doesn't matter too much for a calling character because even if they would take damage, they can't be KO'd. So the opponent can only score points on the ID card itself. So last up here for the calling characters is Sync, again from the X-Men school. With him, he is a little bit different from M, actually a lot different. So some similar abilities because they both had a Generation X trait where they can move up to 5 squares and make an attack. For him, he's only 45 points, so all my characters can call him in except for my Colossal Retaliators for obvious reasons. He has a range of 5. His combat dial is pretty basic. He only has willpower throughout it. He has no other abilities. Mostly I'm using him not only because he's the only other person I have an ID card for with the student cards that are usable for this team, but he has a pretty nice trait, power, mimicry, and amplification. He can choose, as a free action, he can choose a friendly character within range, which isn't including line of fire, so it doesn't matter if there's walls or anything like that. Anybody within range, for him is 5. And he can choose a standard power that character can use. Sync can now use that chosen power until your next turn. If the chosen character has Generation X, he can use Perplex. Unfortunately, nobody on my team has Generation X, so I'm only getting the basics of that power, of that ability itself, which is just choosing a standard power. So with Wolverine, I can choose Blaze Claws. Al Jordan, I can get the, I believe, Prob control that he has, Energy Shield, but like Sidestep, I can choose Super Strength from Mangog. Longshot, I have a lot of stuff to choose from. He can get the Prob from there. Super Senses. I can essentially get an extra Prob out of Sync by using that copy ability. Wolverine, I get the Blade's Claws or the Charge. So I have a couple different options to choose for Sync. Alright, so here we have our final team build at 298 with the current listing with Mangog and Wolverine, Cyclops, the 2 Giant Girls, Al Jordan, Longshot, and the staff. I do realize that on this image I'm showing you here, I have 2 listings for the Fast Forces Giant Girl and not one for the main set. Just did that for points to make sure the points are correct here, since I'm using both Giant Girls at 10 points. With how the realms have the other main set Giant Girls set up, if I include her, the point value is like over 500 points. So that kind of gets a little weird just looking at it here, and I want to make sure the visual is correct for you guys. I'm also adding one character to the sideline here. I don't have an image up at the time of this video for recording. It's the Aquaman chase from the Batman the Animated Series set. This one I'm using as a sideline for his Trouble Alert ability, which the ability reads, friendly characters have free if this character critical missed this turn or made the 3rd attack this turn to miss all opposing targets. Place a character from your sideline that can use the Trouble Alert trait adjacent on its blue starting line, which is his 30-point starting line. He also has a second part to this trait. It took me in one game playing with Aquaman as a sideline to figure out this trait properly. Originally I thought he would still take damage on the sideline, but he does not. He has to be on the map in order to take damage. At the beginning of the turn, if Aquaman started the game due to the Trouble Alert trait, roll a d6. On a 4 to 6, deal Aquaman 1 unavoidable damage. He has another trait, having to do stuff on land, my occasional weakness. Characters that are not occupying water terrain modify attack by +2 when attacking Aquaman. Those characters that aren't occupying water terrain modify defense by +2 when Aquaman attacks them. Way to get past that is his other abilities where he generates water. He has a third trait. He can power, it's called I'll use my undersea telepathy power, generate 3 avenged fish bystanders. And then he has a white attack ability that you'll have when he gets called in, which is Aquaman, go deal with the watery crisis over there. Free, generate up to 6 water terrain markers in distinct squares within 4 squares. Each adjacent to at least one other, and at least one marker must be adjacent to Aquaman. At the beginning of your next turn, remove the water terrain markers, like any other water terrain placement that most other characters have. Same with like Smoke Cloud and all that. He also has another part of that trait. Free, generate an average fish bystander in a square with a water terrain marker placed by Aquaman. When I used him, and again that me and Brandon played, pretty much you can generate those free water terrains, then generate a free fish in one of those adjacent to him, and then you can do the power action to generate 3 average fish bystanders. The power one, they don't have to be adjacent. That doesn't say it on the card here, so I believe it's within range for them. With those average fish, they're not anything fancy, but if you're a pod guy, you might like them to somewhat. They have a 2-speed, 8 attack, 14 defense, and 1 damage with a tiny symbol. They have a trait at the end of your turn, KO this character if it's not occupying water terrain, and on their white speed ability, they have Force Blast. Again, we figured out how this works. Even if those water terrain markers leave at the beginning of the turn, the fish are still there until the end of the turn. So technically, they can still make an attack, do the Force Blast, possibly do some stuff. Aquaman can still generate water for free, so necessarily you don't have to die in that turn. It was just kind of tricky. Took a little bit to learn. Again, this is my first time using this Aquaman when I was using him in that game, but we kind of figured it out pretty easily. And that'll wrap it up for this video. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We got some more great content coming your way. Hopefully this weekend we may have another gameplay video coming up. Of course, I'll have another video made for you next week, of course. And then we'll see you guys next time.